Hi, everybody. I am joined today by Sadie Metter, my teammate in creating the So News Capsule Studio Holiday Collection. We have been working probably, what would you say, Sadie, 6 months
Yep.
on putting together this collection of patterns that we think is going to be amazing for your holiday, whether you're home or away. Sadie did an amazing job of curating this collection of patterns that really does work, whether you're cozy on the couch in your new favorite pair of lounge pants, just wait, they're amazing. Or if you're going out to dinner on your cruise, or I'm picturing like the Mediterranean,
Yep.
and there's perfect
Same.
patterns for all of those places. So I want to hear a little more from Sadie before we get into what we're actually here about today, which is talking about fabric. But this is really like the baby project of Sadie's. I was just here to help make it a reality. And she had such a vision, and it's exciting to see it all come together. So I'm going to let her talk about the collection and everything else behind that.
Well, Kimberly, you give me too much credit because it was very much a collaboration. Lots of team meetings and cups of coffee and discussions about the details in each of the beautiful patterns. And so it was a team effort for sure, but the initial kind of like concept and dream of this collection is exactly what you said. Like, it's something that you can use to elevate your at home holiday, be it a staycation, where you just want to like be a little bit more fancy and luxurious, but still, secret pajama kind of comfortable. And they also all pack really well and mix and match. Like, we had a photo shoot for this collection, and we had the model mixing and matching each of the different components. And it's truly a capsule collection that you could take on a vacation and have kind of all the main pieces that you would need. So I am so thrilled and excited about it. And it all turned out beautifully. And with your help of creating the patterns, it's really something special.
It was really a fun process. And, Sadie and I have been working together on patterns for this magazine for the last year. And this was a just even a different experience from that, where we could
Yeah.
really like think through all elements of the patterns. And most importantly, the fabric, because you all know the fabric really makes a garment, and you can sew something up in a fabric and it truly transforms the finished garment. And so a huge part of the whole process had been not only coming up with the designs and coming up with the elements that we really loved, but it was also about looking and saying, okay, we have to make this in velour, or we have
Yes.
to make this one in a sweatshirt fabric, or oh my God, a rayon would be perfect for this garment. So, as much as the design was kind of this collaboration for Sadie and I, so much of the finished product really comes down to the amazing fabric that we got a chance to work with.
Yeah.
So we were lucky enough to reach out to Nature's Fabric and see if they would be willing to send us some of their just truly amazing fabric for us to work
Delicious.
with. It was so, oh my gosh, when those fabric boxes arrived, Sadie was like, oh my God, it came. And because I'm in Canada, I'm just like not patiently waiting for my box to come. And I knew it was going to be amazing. And, you just pull it out and it's like that final element of watching the whole thing come together and having those fabrics that we curated. I mean, we did not just say, send us anything. Like Sadie and I sat there on their websites, and she's got a color
Combing.
story
Yeah.
in mind, and so like putting this whole thing together, and it was really the fabric that kind of like
Made
put
it
us
come
over
to
the
life.
edge.
Yeah.
Exactly. Now, Sadie, do you mind just sharing a little about sort of, like I said, the color story, where we were going when we were looking at our fabric options and how to make that vision come to life even more based on sort of colors alone?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that it was really starting out as kind of a some neutral bases. So like really looking at those neutral colors where they would be able to mix and match and work with your existing wardrobe and things that you've already made. But then having those pops of special. So be it the kind of tealy color or this gorgeous, this is like, we'll talk about this fabric, but this is like a ginger, which is actually kind of this mauve purple.
It's
And so
so much.
just
Oh, it's
so
beautiful. I
gorgeous.
love
But
it.
just having, so when you have like some grays and some blacks and some basics, but then those pops of color, and then with um what we used on the bag to kind of like tie it all together but still be really special with a print. So I just think that the color story in general, they all speak to one another, they all work together, but they can stand alone. So
Oh my gosh, I
super
I can't
special.
stop thinking about the teal pants, and you guys will see all of these pieces, and we're gonna walk you guys through sort of each piece, the fabric that we ended up using, but also some really fun, like, other things you could consider sewing with it, but I can't get those teal pants out of my mind. They are so good.
They're so good.
They're so good. So, we are for this collection, there's going to be an amazing lookbook. Okay, I know we're here to talk about the fabric, but the lookbook um, is coming together and it's just stunning
Yeah.
because in just a couple of props for the photo shoot and just a couple of key details, you walk away from it thinking, oh my gosh, I was just on vacation. Like, I can't help but look at those pictures and think, it
Luxurious
so
boutique hotel
luxurious.
lobby. Yeah, yeah.
It's amazing. So
Yeah.
we will for sure below link to the lookbook and link to all the patterns. We will also be very specific which fabrics that we used from Nature's Fabric. But before we kind of get into all of that, I would like to go through with Sadie and we will be talking about what the pattern is, what fabric we used, and then give us a chance to kind of just chat about what are some other things you
Other
could sew with this fabric. So I'm going to let you start,
All
Sadie.
right, sure. Yeah, so first up is the amazing Zermatt lounge set. This takes like a your typical sweatsuit, takes it to athleisure, but in such a luxurious, elevated way. Like it's truly fashion, but like I said earlier, secret pajamas. So you look
Yes.
sharp, but you are also crazy comfortable. Um, yeah.
Well,
So
and
the
I
lounge
picture
set.
it like, I think that because it's in this velour, you guys,
Mm,
so it's for all of us that were like grew up or were teenagers in like the late
yes.
90s, early 2000s. It's very much that velour,
Inspired.
juicy
Mhm.
couture tracksuit, but like so modern. And it
Yes.
can be worn with like sneakers, or you could wear it with like heels out to
Heels.
dinner and really
Absolutely.
like dress it up. So I think that
Absolutely.
this
And the
pattern is,
sleeves, like the
oh, the
so
sleeves are so
sleeves, yeah,
good.
like dramatic sleeves have been super on trend. And these sleeves do not disappoint because I've never seen a lounge set or a tracksuit with sleeves like this. Like it's so cute.
It's so good.
And
So
the
I did
neck,
kind of,
the little
oh, go ahead.
peekaboo at the
Oh,
neck.
the neck. There's a fun little detail with the
Mm-hmm.
V. Oh, you guys, we had way too much fun designing these patterns. But like I said, and I kind of blew it ahead of time, we used the natural bamboo velour for this. And
Mm-hmm.
I remember correct, Sadie, it's like a off-white,
It's an
like a cream
off-white.
white.
Yep. Yep. Creamy off-white, and it's so luscious. Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. And, like Sadie had mentioned, it pairs really well with a lot of the other patterns. And it just is like Sadie said, secret pajamas. This
Yeah.
fabric is so soft. And I didn't sew this sample, but I believe it was kind of a dream to sew with as well.
It was so great to sew with. No problems at all. I mean, I think it's just following those like rules that you need to follow with things that have a pile. So I wanted to make sure that all of my pattern pieces were all facing the same way on the grain. So like all the ups were up and all the downs were down so that I didn't get some unusual, but I used that to my advantage
Oh, yeah,
because
I forgot about that.
I used it to my advantage. So each of the pieces, the top and the bottom, have side pieces. I don't know what's the term for that, but there's like a
I guess
strip
it's like
down
an
an
accent
accent
down.
stripe.
Yeah.
And so I actually, on all of my accents, I flipped it and used that pile difference in direction to just create ever so slight difference in all of the accents. So yeah,
Yeah,
it was really
it's
easy to
really
flip.
cool. And we were talking through like, okay, we loved it for this pattern. Obviously, we want you guys to go to Nature's Fabric and get all the fabrics we're telling you about and then make all of our patterns. But we also know that as sewists, you either already have an extensive collection of patterns, or if you're looking for something else, we wanted to give you some inspiration for each of the patterns. So with this one, Sadie had a pattern in mind that immediately she thought of with this fabric. And it is, Sadie,
The evergreen wrap dress from the fall
the
issue
fall issue.
of
And
So
it
News.
is one of our favorite
So
patterns. And
beautiful.
it's kind of like a cliche when you're like, oh, but now this is my new favorite. And I think that over the last year, Sadie and I say that with every issue. Like, no, wait, this is my new favorite pattern. But
Yeah.
the way that wrap dress came together, and it's so beautiful.
So
I think that
classy.
any of the colors of this bamboo velour would just shine. And it would shine through in a way that it just makes it look fancy. Even though
Yeah.
it's velour and it's a simple wrap dress, you would look ready for dinner,
Dressed
whether
and
you're
ready to
in
go. Yeah.
Zermatt,
That's
if
right.
you're on your ski vacation in Zermatt, or if you're somewhere else and it's
Date
just
night in your local city.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And it makes me want to make one of those patterns as well. But I think that
Yep.
in general, obviously we love the evergreen wrap dress, but I think that it can be something as simple as a zipper hoodie. Like if you just have
Yep.
it's almost like you're wrapped in, well, secret pajamas, like we said
Yep.
before, or really just like anything that's cozy. I think this fabric would be fantastic for that because it's
Well,
not
even like
only,
think about like a throw on like you want to
oh,
elevate like your
yeah,
home decor. You could make a throw blanket out of this velour and I
that would be
mean
amazing too.
warm, cozy, and just feel really extra special.
Yeah, so I think that there's so many uses beyond garment or just beyond the patterns that we're talking about that you can
Absolutely.
use that velour for. So the next pattern is the Brighton tunic. Now, I did say Sadie came up with all of these patterns or all of the initial mood board.
Design idea.
Yes. And so with this one, it's a really fun, it's almost like an over piece for your
It's like an
wardrobe.
accessory. I feel a layering
Yeah, so it's like
accessory.
a super modern, fashion forward accessory that could be worn on its own, not on its own, because then your butt will be hanging out. But
Yeah, you do need
but
something on the bottom. Yeah.
you've got to have something on the bottom. But it's a tunic that sorry. It's a
It's awesome.
tunic that is a deep V in the front, a deep V in the back, and then it has side slits, and a front and a back slit. So it's really intended, and those slits come all the way up to your waist.
Yep.
So that's intended to just kind of be flowy and free, and it kind of just like move the movement in this garment, which when the photo shoot was happening, Sadie made sure that the model kind of like swished it around, which you can see in the
Yep.
pictures. And the fabric worked perfectly for that. And the fabric that we got for that was satin. So it was a dark gray satin. And it's like, it looks just like the perfect amount of sheen and the movement. It's light
It's
without
light.
being
Yep.
too light. Like it's not a
It's not
super,
translucent. It's completely
yeah,
opaque. So,
yeah.
if you're not layering it, you're going to be fine. Yep.
For sure. And the model, one of the shots was like her jeans, and then the slit came just above the waistband of her jeans. And so she was able to wear it for some of the shots without a shirt underneath. And it looks so good. Like
Yeah.
I can just picture going out to dinner, wearing that top. Obviously not now because it's like winter, but it's stunning. I loved it. But I think you could also picture that pattern made in like a linen and
Oh,
pair it with
absolutely.
like something super like summery. And so I think that the pattern in and itself has lots of versatility.
Well,
But
we
the
even
fabric,
layered it. We layered it for the model in like kind of thinking of like a winter scene. And so it can easily become this accessory that's layered over long sleeves or, leggings and long sleeves. And you just have that floating over the top for as an added kind of like texture to your outfit. So it is
yeah,
versatile. It's completely versatile.
it would go great layered over the Black Forest bodysuit that
Yes,
we released
exactly.
also in the fall issue. Like it's just kind of that perfect accessory that's also a garment. And so that one was a really fun one to create that really went through multiple iterations before we kind
Mm-hmm.
of like landed on this finished product. And
Mm-hmm.
the fabric was fantastic.
Yeah.
Satin, obviously, you have to just kind of, I like to think you have to move slowly when you're
Move
working with
slowly
satin.
and pin more than you usually pin. That's
Exactly.
kind of
And
like my trick.
I will also say, change your rotary cutter because when I
Yes.
was working with satin, I was like, I'm going to go ahead and put a new rotary blade
New
on
rotary
there.
blade is
Yeah,
totally a
that
good idea.
deserves a new rotary blade.
But
But
it wasn't,
what's
it wasn't so slippery that it made it kind of like frustrating to sew because I had no problem. And there are a lot of, with all of the slits and the side slits and the front and the back slits, there's a lot of hemming that's going on all of those raw edges. And I had no issues whatsoever with just my I don't even think, I think I used like a universal needle in my machine. So I didn't even change up to a special needle or anything. And it was still
yeah,
very easy to sew.
which is great for fabric, especially for a fabric that's kind of in your mind, it's a
It's going to
specialty
be
fabric and
hard
it's
or,
going to
yeah,
be this horrible thing. And if you're not a super experienced sewist, you might be scared. So I think that that's also nice for people to hear is that I think anybody could sew it.
I
You just
think
have
so
to
too.
move slowly and pin and add a few extra pins
Pins. Yeah.
once you think you have enough. But one of the patterns that we think would also be great for this fabric is our shift to shine
Yeah.
dress. Sadie recently sewed that for our winter CME
Yep.
issue. And she added a really cool, like freestanding
Lace
lace
inset. Yep.
accent. And
Yeah.
what's fun about this pattern is it doesn't have any closures. It's got just a deeper scoop in the back so that
Mm-hmm.
you can get your head into it. And it's just like an easy sew. It would give you, it's like a confidence booster for making
Mm-hmm.
sewing with this fabric because it would
Yeah,
like show
absolutely.
you that it's not actually as hard as it feels. And so I think that that pattern would be fantastic for this fabric.
It would also be amazing as like a blouse or even fancy lining in outerwear, like in a wool coat or something, and then have that beautiful, luxurious lining. So,
It would be great for the Crested Butte cape sew along that we have going on as the lining on
yes,
a
absolutely.
wool cape.
Yep.
So I think, like Sadie said, now that's a luxurious use of this fabric
Yes, that would be
because
a luxurious use, but it'd be
typically you
perfect.
wouldn't use such a nice fabric for a lining, but especially in that use, you see the lining so
You
much
see
in a
it.
coat or a
Yeah.
cape that it is nice to have something that's kind of a little
A
fancier.
little bit elevated. Yep.
Yeah, so for the most part with this type of fabric, think, like something you want floaty, you want with a lot of movement, blouses, skirts, dresses, and you're not going to go wrong with this fabric. It really is beautiful, and
It
it's
is.
going to sew easier than you are thinking in your head right now.
Yep.
Okay, Sadie, I'm going to let you talk about the next pattern because it's behind you and it's beautiful and
Oh, yeah.
I love
Yeah, me
it.
too. Yeah, this is the Revelstoke sweatshirt, and it has, we'll pop up some pictures and you'll be able to see, but it has really, again, statement sleeves, which are so my jam. I love cool sleeves. And this really unusual kind of, it's not your usual neck shape, neck band that you have in like your typical sweatshirt. So it's taking the sweatshirt and elevating it with some really cool design features. And it just looked beautiful on our model. And this ginger color is kind of to die for because
I know.
it's a very on trend kind of like mauve purpley color. And yeah, I love it so much.
Yeah, it's really nice. And I think that this fabric was the perfect choice for this pattern. This is
This
a
is the stretch
stretch
fleece. Yeah.
fleece. Yeah,
Yeah,
so it's a
stretch fleece.
stretch fleece. And with that built
The
up, the slight,
inside,
oh my
it's
God,
so
so
soft.
soft.
Like everybody on set was petting it. Like it
Yeah.
is seriously like it is so comfortable.
It's so nice. And I think that like it really lends itself to the vision of this garment because like I said, the built up
Yeah.
neckline, it's only a slight built up neckline, but you
Just
wanted to
like
have that structure. And those
hmm
sleeves are statement sleeves because and you might think they're just big sleeves, but Sadie and I spent a ridiculous amount of time determining the exact length, the exact shape. I mean, you'd think it's not that big of a deal, but like we had video chats where I'm standing there in it going, okay, should it be this long? Should it be this long? And so, every detail was really thought out, and the fabric complements this garment so well. And it's
completely.
like
Yeah.
cozy, but it can totally be dressed up. And it's a dream. That
It
fabric
is a
was
dream.
is
Yeah.
so beautiful. And again,
And
that
again,
color,
easy to work with, super easy to work with. So
yes.
with this one, the pattern is great for a beginner. Again, one of those like confidence boosters. Like you're going to create something, you're going to wear it all the time, but it wasn't difficult to sew. And this fabric also easy to work with. So huge win from all angles on this one, completely.
Yeah. Well, and when we were kind of putting this sample together, and I'm looking at my fabric, and Sadie's playing around with the fabric, and I instantly started thinking about, okay, what are the other things that I can sew with this fabric? Because short of making everything in it, because it's just so cozy. Well, and I live in Canada, so it's like cold. It's basically going to be cold until, I don't know, July. I just want something warm and cozy. And so the first thing that popped into my head was the new patterns from Allie Olson, the Hive. It's a really cool
Oh,
sweatshirt
yes.
with like a partial zip and a skirt. And I thought, oh my gosh, like
So cute.
imagine like a sweatsuit outfit
Set.
that's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
so elegant and also so comfy. So like for me, that was immediately where my brain went when I started looking at this fabric, because it just feels like the perfect marriage of fabric and pattern.
Absolutely. And I keep thinking, there's been a lot of things popping up in the sewing world lately of these kind of more midi maxi sweatshirt dresses. And this fabric would be perfect for something like that. And thinking along the lines of like our holiday theme of home or away, I mean, even if you're going to a warm climate, imagine like throwing something made out of this fleece over your bathing suit or in the evenings when it gets chilly. Like
Yeah.
it's not so heavy and fluffy, and that you wouldn't be able to also have that translate into other seasons and climates for sure.
Well, I have to say, my favorite thing to wear in the summer is shorts and a sweatshirt.
And a
I
sweatshirt.
literally look
Yeah.
forward to the moment the temperature drops in the evening and I get to put my sweatshirt on with my shorts. I don't know what
Yep.
it is about that combination, but anything made out of this fabric would be
It would be
perfect because it's
perfect.
not so heavy that you're going to just sweat the second that it's on. So I think
Yep.
that this fabric has a lot of versatility, and obviously you can go simple with joggers, or you can make, I mean, I love the midi length sweatshirt kind of dress, and it could be, really sporty with like pockets and a hood, or it could, like there's so many
So
options. And
many
I think
things.
that
Yeah.
it's just such a versatile fabric for a variety of patterns. So I don't
Oh,
think you can go
that's
wrong with this.
yeah, like I was just thinking, there's a new-ish, maybe in the last few issues of Fiber Mood, they have something called a Soraya, and I may not be pronouncing that correctly, Soraya, but it's a sweatshirt that has this like channeling up,
Oh,
asymmetrical
yeah.
channeling where you can kind of ruche it. So this fabric would be perfect because it's not so thick that you wouldn't be able to get that really dramatic kind of like gathered ruching effect with the way that pattern is designed. So that's another one that I think would be
Yeah, I
perfect.
think that would be great too. Because of a slight weight, it's really going to accentuate that ruching that's done. So,
Completely.
yeah, I think that that's a really great one. I mean, you can't go wrong with Fiber Mood patterns either, because they have some really fun details. So I think that
Mm-hmm.
between obviously our patterns, we love our patterns, but there's also lots of other
There's so
patterns on the
many. Yeah.
market that work really well for this, not heavy but more
Yep.
substance in a stretch fleece.
Yeah.
So the next pattern, and these are the teal pants that I was talking about before, that I'm obsessed with. And you have to go look at the pictures, because every time I look at the model wearing these pictures, or these pants, I'm just like, I just want to wear them myself, and they're not my size and they don't fit me. So it just means that I have to go get some of the teal
You have
fabric
to make some. Yeah.
and make a pair for myself. But what this is these are our Havana pants, and they are a very wide leg knit pant that has a thick waistband and a drawstring in it. So there's no elastic. It is just a really good basic pant, but with some really fun details on it.
Yep.
So these pants, while maybe viewed as simple, are really well thought out, of having this like really wide leg. Everything's kind of balanced. And the fabric that we used with this, the teal fabric, is a merino jersey. And oh my gosh, you guys, if you have not worked with this fabric, you are going to realize very quickly that you're going to need clothes out of this fabric, like
Everything should be
all of
made
them,
out of it.
all
Yeah.
the colors, all the garments, because it's like luxurious, but also can be worn like a t-shirt or
Yeah,
like
like a
a
day-to-day
casual
wear.
lounge
Hmm.
pant. And I think you will see specifically in these pictures how well it was styled to show, yes, it's a knit pant, but whew, with that like wool fabric and the styling, I could see somebody
You
walking
could
down
wear those
the
out.
street and you would never realize like what they actually are. So that was
Mm-hmm.
a really fun one to create. And I think that there's so many options for this fabric beyond our pants. And I think that, like I said, a t-shirt would be great. In the most recent So Quick and Easy, which are a free pattern collection, there's actually quite a few patterns within that collection that would work for a lot of these fabrics. But I
Mm-hmm.
could see this merino jersey for just a simple t-shirt. Our raglan t-shirt that's in that collection would be fantastic
Yeah,
for that fabric. And, a lot of the stuff we've even mentioned previously would
that
work really
Soraya.
great for this. Yeah, the Soraya would be great. Any of our other sort of knit garments, something
Mm-hmm.
that you want. Surprisingly, it's not thick, but it's definitely warm. Like it's the kind of
Mm-hmm.
fabric
Yeah,
that needs a
exactly.
great like base layer. My
Yep.
family goes cross country skiing, and that this fabric is like the perfect like base layer that keeps you warm without adding too much bulk. So I think
Yep.
that there's a lot of flexibility with this fabric, and it comes in some really fun colors. Obviously, we leaned kind of jewel tones for the photo shoot, but there's some really pretty neutrals like a dark brown
Yep.
and some of the other ones. So I think that this fabric is sort of that like fabric you have in your stash that you don't ever want to use, but you should because you'll thank yourself later when you
Yeah.
actually go with it. Okay, so the next pattern is our Seychelles dress. And this pattern was so, of all the patterns, this was the last one that Sadie and I designed together. And it was sort of, we knew it was like this big, bold pattern. And I sort of
It's
felt
the
like
showstopper. It's like
it
the
is the
finale. Yeah.
showstopper. Like it was sort of the like I needed to have all my energy together so that we could work on this because while it's not crazy complicated, sometimes your brain needs to be able to like wrap your mind around how things happen. And we really had such a vision for this pattern. And I think that when sort of it all comes together and the crepe de chine that we used for this pattern just like finished it. It was amazing.
Yeah.
And it really helped show the gathers and the pleats. We've got pleats at the neckline, we've got gathers sort of at the sleeve. And it just made it like it
Yeah.
gave it that structure without too much structure. Normally in my brain I always go to linen for something like this, but it was like we needed something that wasn't quite linen but that had a little bit of structure
Yep.
but not too much structure, and sometimes
Still
that's a hard
floaty, still
balance.
kind yeah, it is a hard balance, but this is beautiful. This fabric totally took this pattern to exactly where we thought it was going to be going, to be like that special garment that you're going to wear out to whatever event or, dinner or party or whatever.
Yeah, well, I love it too how it's a black dress. Like we used black, and you look at it and you're like, oh my gosh, like I can picture this decked out, beautiful jewelry,
Yes.
gold earrings, and like really nice shoes. But I
Hmm.
can also picture it with my
Flip-flops.
Birkenstocks
Yeah,
and and a sun hat, and I'm like going to the farmers market. So like that's what
absolutely.
I love so much about like how even just the fabric and the pattern came together to like show you literally two different scenarios where you can wear the exact same garment. And I think that that really highlights how great that fabric is,
Hmm.
because it really can take you in multiple directions with the same garment and fabric.
Well, and it really showed off that special design feature of the Seychelles dress, which is the sleeve. And again, it's another statement sleeve, but I really stumped you with this one because I was like,
Oh my
Kimberly,
gosh,
can
she
you
did.
can you imagine that there's not actually like a hem or a cuff or anything on the bottom of this sleeve. It's actually going to like balloon and then be attached to an internal lining. And you totally got the idea. And then the fabric totally showed off the feature.
Yeah,
So,
it's amazing. I can't wait for you guys to get the pattern, to try pairing it with this fabric. It would work with a lot of the other fabrics that we have talked about, or
oh,
the
absolutely.
last fabrics we're going to talk about. I think that it's just got so much versatility. That sleeve is it broke my brain for a little bit there. I had an idea of how I was going to make it work, and it came together. And yeah, it's a really fun garment
It's a
and
fun sew.
fabric.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that what also, like, as working with that fabric, it would lend itself really well to something cut on the bias, because
Yes. That's
it
exactly what I was
has the
thinking.
drape and it has a little structure, but the second you cut it on the bias, it's completely different fabric. If
Yeah.
you're like sort of familiar with the bias, it essentially lets fabric that doesn't stretch. It grows. If you've ever if you have ever cut something on the bias and then made the mistake of hemming it immediately, you know exactly what I'm talking about, because the next time you put it on, it is a
It's
situation
longer. Yeah.
because it grew. And so,
But you know,
uh,
it's talking about something that's on the bias leads me to think about this the trend, because I have two younger daughters, and there's this huge trend of wearing slip dresses, and those can be on like patterns for slip dresses are on the bias or not. And you know, you just did one recently for our winter sew news, which
yeah,
is what remind me what it's called, Kimberly,
it
the
is the
bear, oh,
Winterberry.
winterberry, the winterberry
It's
slip
so
dress.
good.
It's good, and this fabric would be perfect for that
It would be
dress.
perfect. Yeah,
Yeah.
and it is a simple slip dress that we created for that issue, and it would really let the fabric shine,
Shine.
especially if you cut it on the bias. So I
Yeah.
think that, I mean, on its own, fantastic. It would still work really great. But giving that different movement, if you cut it on the bias, would be just,
It would
I
be
mean,
lovely.
so good. And like a slip dress, like you mentioned, slip dress. Seamwork also has a really cool slip dress that is cut on the bias, and it's got these really cool style lines,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, a V-neck. And I think that I mean, you could really play with this fabric in that parts of it could be cut normal, parts could be cut on the bias. You would get different movement, but also a lot of times you would see slightly different sheen. Like if
Yeah.
you're cutting
Yeah.
it
Like
similar
the
to, like you
velour.
said, for the velour.
That's right.
So I think that you can use a fabric and like have these really cool elements, and you're doing nothing other than cutting it maybe cross grain or cut on the bias. And I think that you can find lots of patterns that would work well
Absolutely.
with a fabric like a crepe de chine,
Yeah.
because it's kind of a dream to work with, especially if you are wanting to work with, I mean, what's considered kind of more of a luxury fabric, but this one doesn't have to be scary. Like it's easy
Yeah.
to work with,
Easy to
but it
work
gives
with.
you really elevated finished garments.
Yeah.
Okay.
100%.
Yeah. So I want you to talk about the final pattern of this collection, which this is like something Sadie has wanted. And so she was like, we're making it happen. We're making it a pattern, because this is something that she actually was like, I've wanted something like
Dreaming
this.
about.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's the Amalfi scarf bag. And yeah, I've just been dreaming about a bag like this. So it is it is a tote bag, but it is not your run of the mill kind of tote. So what makes it extra special is that the handles of the bag are scarves. So you can take this bag on an errand, on a trip, and then you have an additional accessory that can work with your capsule wardrobe to style things. So the scarves come off, and then you can use them in your hair, you can tie them around your neck. Um, yeah. So I love it so much.
It's so
The
fun.
tote, it does have an internal pocket with a zipper, and so it's very functional. And then the amazing thing is that we got to use the waxed cotton
Oh,
canvas from Nature's Fabric, which then made it almost waterproof. Like it's like a durable tote bag to take
yeah.
with you on your adventures. So
When we were looking for like canvas, what our canvas options were on the website, I think both of us at the exact same time
wheeled.
go, "Oh my God, we have to use the waxed canvas." And it was like we
Yes.
knew that not only was like the texture of the waxed canvas, but the
Perfect.
color, it like perfectly complemented all of the other elements of the collection, that it was
Yes.
like, I want this. Like, I'm kind of jealous that like Sadie gets to keep that sample because it turned out so good.
Yeah,
And
it's
especially with
really
that,
great.
you guys, we got this spotted poly rayon, I believe. Yes.
Yeah, it's a rayon.
And it's the only pattern that we used within the collection. But it is just like that
It's a
final piece that brought everything together. And it just, the two fabrics work amazing together. They work individually with the other fabrics. And it just sort of like, it
it tied it
rounded
all
everything
together.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It tied it
Yeah.
all together, and then that and then just having the one pop of print with everything, and that print works with all of the solids
Yeah.
perfectly. Yeah.
It just came together so great. And, you know, this fabric, we unfortunately cleaned them out of the spotted fabric, and we decided to still go ahead and make the sample in the spotted rayon fabric because they have some other great
Beautiful
rayon
rayons.
fabrics.
Yeah.
So we, even though you can't necessarily get the spotted rayon, their other rayons are fantastic and they're amazing to work with. We did a
Super easy, perfect
simple
weight.
like rolled
Perfect weight.
hem
Yeah.
for the scarves, which it's funny, you wouldn't think two rectangles would take that much. But Sadie and I spent a good amount of time trying to figure out
The
like what
perfect
the
length of
actual dimensions of these scarves so they would work for handles, work for actual like accessories. And it's amazing how you just let the fabric shine. A simple rolled hem around the outside edges, and that fabric is just like the star of the show.
Yeah, absolutely. And you'll definitely have to pop in the picture with the model where she has the
I
scarfin
love that
tied around her head in
picture.
like this boho kind of
It's
pose, because
so
that was
cool.
the vision for me. Like that's the person I see when I think about this bag and the scarves, and it's just like boho fashionista going somewhere with a really fantastic bag, and then oh, my handle turned into my
My
headscarf.
accessory. Oh, I'm in my convertible and I need something
Oh,
to
right.
tie my
My
hair
hair
back.
back.
I'll just use a handle of my bag.
Yeah. So that was like the vision came to life and the fabric was perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, it was great. And you know, any of the other rayons that they have would work really great for
Perfectly.
like a maxi dress. Sadie and I were looking through the patterns
Yes.
in the So Daily collection, and the Manasa maxi dress would be perfect for a rayon. Like I can just picture it. I mean, honestly, depending on the fabric you choose, you could carry your Amalfi scarf bag with this dress and it would all just kind of go together really
Go
well. I think
together.
that a rayon makes great blouses, it makes great dresses, skirts. I mean, anything that you want. Typically, with a rayon, it's going to be a lot lighter weight. It's very flowy. Sometimes there's
Has
a
a
bit
beautiful
of
drape. The one the
exactly.
yeah.
And sometimes you can see through it depending on the print, and so you just
Or
have
the
to be
light.
aware
Yeah.
of that.
Yeah, just to be
Um,
aware.
but it's great to work with, and it's so versatile.
It
And that
is.
waxed canvas.
Well, the waxed canvas, so I've already been kind of like plotting and scheming. So we just had in our winter issue the perfect guest pie carrier.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I'm thinking like what an amazing it could be like a host or hostess gift to bring a pie to a party in a waxed canvas bag that's fully reusable and make it like a really special gift or
Oh, yeah. Like,
yeah.
I'm already thinking I'm gonna make one. I wish I had the waxed canvas, to take to Thanksgiving, so I can
Yeah.
look like the special guest who just shows up with my pie in this really
Yeah,
personalized pie carrier, and I think the waxed
exactly.
canvas is fun. Like, it just gives
It's
it the
so fun.
texture, and it's just different from just a standard canvas. So I think that
Yeah.
there's lots of uses. We also have
Wallets.
on
Would you like
our
wallets?
website like a folio. So like if
Yes.
you like to have this like, look so professional, you can, make something like that. There's lots of uses for a canvas, and the waxed element of it just kind of like gives it a little
Gives
bit more,
a little more and more functionality. Like
for
it's a bit
sure.
more durable, you know?
Yeah, exactly. So obviously, we are very excited about this fabric. I think that like it's constantly over the last few months of us being like, oh my gosh, did you see this
It's
fabric?
been a
Or
topic of conversation for sure.
exactly. And so we're happy that we were able to share it with all of you. And I will throw the links to everything that we've been talking about in the description below. And we're just so thankful that Nature's Fabric decided to help sponsor our capsule collection. We love it. We love them. It's been a dream to work with them. And we just wanted to share all of the great fabric that we were able to use and how we personally would use this fabric as well. This is
Yeah.
not just us saying what we have to say. We genuinely have loved working with this fabric. And we think that all of you, as you begin making your sewing, whether you're on holiday here or away, whether you're sewing the capsule collection or not, we hope that you consider looking at Nature's Fabric because they really do have a fantastic collection of fabrics for all the projects that you could be sewing. So, thank you so much from Sadie and I, and we hope that you enjoy our new capsule collection.
Happy sewing.
Happy sewing!